David Davis is Conservative MP. He's also former Brexit Secretary, of course. He's going to be on those back benches today when Jeremy Hunt delivers his statement. Good morning to you, David.
Good morning, Julia. You see, you pulled me out from under my duvet already.
Well, I'm just glad we got you out your PJs. That's always good. Well, look, let's just run through what we're being told to expect. Often we hear different things, although Jeremy Hunt was very clear there would not be a rabbit pulled from the hat. We got used to that with George Osborne at the end. There'd be something to rouse the Tory benches. I think the Tory benches are going to be riled rather than roused today. We're looking at what many are calling stealth raids on income tax, national insurance, inheritance tax, VAT, capital gains tax and all that by basically not moving those thresholds, freezing those thresholds all the way to 2028, which means that more and more people are going to be facing what's called fiscal drag, dragged into higher rates of tax. We've got that top rate of tax, 45p. The threshold for paying that is going to be brought down to £125,000. Everyone's expecting council tax is going to be allowed to go up by up to 5%. Dividend tax going up as well. When it comes to spending, benefits, pensions, the triple lock staying in place, inflation-proofed, but for an awful lot of other people, their wages won't be inflation-proof, as public spending is going to rise by just 2% from 2025. Well, that's not even cover the size of those wage bills, and also energy bills. Crucial thing. We've got that freeze. The cap of about 2,500 average household energy bill till April. Looking at those going up to about 3,000 after April. I mean, can you find any good news, any blue sky in any of that?
Not immediately, no. But I don't actually think he's got much choice. I mean, unfortunately, because the Truss regime made such a horlicks, frankly, of what they were trying to do, he's got to, first off, keep the markets happy. He can't afford another run on the pound. Secondly, he's got to meet the requirements you had, I think, on the news, Harriet Baldwin, the new Treasury chairman, talking about bringing inflation under control. And he's got to balance the budget, at least in part. Now, my expectation, I mean, frankly, the biggest risk, I mean, put aside all of the gloomy news, it's all going to be gloomy this morning. You're dead right. There'll be no rabbits. Put aside that, the biggest risk is that what he's doing may make the recession that we're running into, all of Europe, all of the Western world's running into, the recession we're running into, worse. That's the real problem. That's the real risk. And the thing you got to bear in mind is this now famous OBR forecast is wrong.
All forecasts are wrong. I can remember the former boss of the Institute of Fiscal Studies, who then went on to head the OBR, said that all economic forecasts are wrong, without exception. Some are just more wrong than others. And
think how big the wrongness is. I mean, even before we got to COVID, it was wrong half the time. It was wrong by a bigger margin than the deficit he's trying to close, right? So we've got to get through this period. Now, the one, if you like, the one upside in this is this. We're coming back to this story in March with the budget. And so by then, gas prices are probably going to have come down. Most of the shortages causing some of the inflation of things like electronics and so on is going to be out. I mean, we're already in the glut of electronics now. So a whole series of new perspectives will be there in March. My hope is he's lining up for a budget in March, which is a growth budget, right? And actually do properly what Truss was trying to do.
Well, there's a lot of talk against the energy bills. We know, see what happens with the Ukraine war. There are lots of things that can change. The trouble is, this is going to be very damaging to confidence, isn't it, in terms of investment and in terms of people's willingness to go out and spend. People are going to go, do you know what? We're told it's going to be terrible for the next 2 years. We better hunker down, as I say, under the duvet, stop spending money. Not that we've got the money to spend anyway, because our energy bills have been hiked up and our taxes have gone up. People are just going to be just very wary, just at the time when businesses are crying out for custom to keep them afloat. That's when customers are going to go, oh, I won't be spending. But so even if he does bring it back in March, again, assuming he hasn't been replaced by 3 other chancellors in the meantime, I mean, going at current rates, he will have damaged confidence so much the damage may already have been done.
Well, frankly, I don't think he'll damage confidence. I think one of the things about Hunt is he's a sort of comfortable figure. You know, when
he came
for you,
maybe.
No. Well, bear in mind, look, I'm Mr. Low Tax Tory. I mean, when I didn't support Truss because I thought she bluntly would give low taxes a bad name, I had loads of people calling me up saying, "Why don't you do it?" And I explained what he's had to do. Frankly, is embrace the Treasury orthodoxy. Frankly, if I'd been Chancellor, I'd have to embrace the Treasury orthodoxy today. Yeah. That's what the markets are demanding, but I think that's a short-term demand. I think once the markets realise we're not going to go wild in any way, I think they'll settle down. You're right. The real risk is the risk to consumer confidence. I don't think investor confidence. Yeah. Consumer confidence is a real risk. And it's incredibly hard to judge. It's incredibly hard to judge. But bear in mind the other half of this. A lot of these taxes are falling on the better off, which means basically you and me. You know, I mean, it means people who have paid more than $100,000 a year, one way or another, and that's going to hit consumer spending least. Yeah. The biggest tranche of spending comes to people who are the bottom.
And there's no question at all that the burden should be borne by people with broader shoulders, and again, who are less likely to have been hit hard by lockdowns and weren't like on furlough. A lot of people, lots of people might have liked furlough, but I know a lot of people who, because it only had a max of 26,000, well, actually their outgoings are a lot more than that. I know people who've used their life savings up during lockdown through no fault of their own. But the trouble is that an awful lot of people would have been saying to me on air and off air, we thought we'd elected a Conservative government in 2019. Yeah, we got Brexit, great. And yes, COVID hit, lockdown decisions, yeah, would have been a lot worse under Labour. We'd still be in lockdown now if it was up to them. Who are we kidding? However, a lot of people are saying we elected a Conservative government and we seem to have Labour policies. And today is going to be a Labour autumn statement. What do you say to that?
No, I don't think at all. I mean, cast your mind back, before you were born, 1979.
No. Look, I was born long before that, but I thank you for your chivalry there, sir.
but cast your mind back to the early Thatcher. First thing she did was balance the books, and remember what Truss and Quatermain were pretending to do or thinking they were doing was copying her. They weren't. She got the books balanced first, then she got the tax down second.
But she also saw mass unemployment, which she saw as a reasonable cost to bear, but she wasn't bearing it.
No, that's true. And that isn't true today. And ironically, I mean, this may sound ridiculous, and it is in a way. But the low unemployment is one of the inflation problems now. The cost of employing people is going up because you can't find employees, and it's not just here. It's in France, it's in Germany, it's in America. There's an employment issue around the world because people are deciding not to work. So it's tough. Nobody's going to pretend any different. And as I said, I'm Mr. Low Tax Tory. I'm the one probably feels the pain on this most in terms of the philosophical approach. But it seems to me that he's got no choice now. But the one bit of light I'm looking at is in 5 months' time, he's going to come back with new numbers. And I'm going to be saying today, when you come back, I want to see the growth agenda. I want to see plans to encourage.
What government doesn't want growth? It's insane to not be in that situation. Can I ask you about something I just said a little bit earlier on the show, that there's so many people, and Labour do this, and it's very easy for them to say, this is all down to that mini budget from Liz Truss, and we can all have our criticisms of it, and I was very unhappy with large aspects of it as well. But the idea that we're in the mess we're in now because of Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, frankly, is for the birds, isn't it? We've got the energy crisis as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We've got huge, massive debts because we printed money and we paid people to stay at home during lockdowns, and we had months and months of turning our economy off and the global economy off as well. Those are the real issues. Those are what have caused the big fuss, the big problem we're in. Do you not think that it's really important that the government, that the Chancellor and others, Jeremy Hunt, by the way, has praised Russia for their zero COVID approach in previous years. Pretty terrifying stuff in my view, to have him anywhere near government again. Do you not think we need to have a really open acknowledgement by the government, and by the way, the mainstream media has failed to do this, and we're basically in cahoots with the government on this, of actually that we're in this mess largely because of lockdown policies, and we have to face up to that. This is a cost of locking down the economy.
Yeah, some of it is. Largely, the energy costs are different, but the electronics costs I was talking about before is because the whole supply chain, the global supply chain, ground to a halt. So all the things that we normally buy, your iPhones and your televisions and so on, just weren't available, or components weren't. And of course we've got the inquiry coming into the handling of COVID. And I'm going to go and give evidence to the inquiry, and I'm going to say to them, for heaven's sake, can we publish all the data?
Yeah.
Let's stop having everything being a battle between the sort of lockdown enthusiasts and the conspiracy theorists on opposite ends. Let's actually have the proper data and fess up to what went wrong, because quite a lot went wrong. And the truth of the matter is, most of the governments in the world made broadly similar mistakes. You sort of Sweden off, but everybody else made the same mistakes. So let's fess up to it. Let's recognise it. I actually think, politicians underestimate the electorate too often. Most of our constituents know full well that it wasn't handled perfectly. They didn't actually expect it to be handled perfectly. It's the first time this has happened to a modern government. So let's fess up and get it right. And there's a good reason for that, apart from just honesty. And it's that next time, because there will be a next time, let's try and get it better, do it better. And we'll only do that if we're honest with ourselves. So yes, I'm entirely with you.
Here to all of that. Former Brexit Secretary Conservative MP David Davis, thank you very much indeed for joining us. 8:18 is